Hi everyone, welcome to another process video here at Lynn's Everyday Ideas. Today I'm going to be scrapping a photo of my parents' dog the day they brought him home. He's about 5 months now. I'm going to be using the Collectible Remarkable collection by My Mind's Eye. I have the 6x6 plus some of the 12x12 and the embellishments. I'm also going to be using some bits and bobs from the Jack and Jill collection by Echo Park. So let me put you on fast forward and get started. I'm going to do a 9x12 on this one since it is just one photo. Since I want to use mostly 6x6 paper from the paper pad, I do trim the photo down just to the size of the puppy. I'm getting the sketch up here to show you. It was from Scrap Bar Stash. It was their May sketch, so obviously I didn't get it in time to enter the challenge, but I still wanted to use the sketch. You also had to use the word mother since it was May. Each of the letters needed to be on your layout somewhere. So for M, I used My Mind's Eye. For O, you'll see some ornamental shaped chipboard stickers. For T, I used the best glue ever on my enamel dots, my homemade ones, and some on my chipboard, as well as the tiny little hearts that I added. H, there you go, hearts. E, for Echo Park, since I did use some of their embellishments. And R, I used red paper and red accents to match the fact that my parents' new pup is a red Boston Terrier. So you saw me go through and pick out some papers for my layout. First thing I'm going to use is my base is going to be that wood grain paper. I'll tell you, if I could find this wood grain paper in bulk, I would purchase it. It's just the perfect one. It's not too dark, not too light. The wood grain looks, pretty real. So I wish I could find that in bulk. So I'm mounting my photo first on some blue. I did want red in there, like I said, because he's red and my pop is wearing a cranberry reddish sweatshirt. But when you put the red right up against Chase, it was too much. So now I'm going to add my red layer. I couldn't decide if I wanted the red stripe or that scrap of red I had. I ended up going with the scrap because the one with the diagonal lines, it wasn't enough red, number one, and it was more on the white side where the paper I'm using is ivory. So this sketch called for two diagonal, I guess you would say, strips, one on the right hand side and one peeking out from the layers behind your photo. And the one on the left hand side, I pretty much stick with that same piece from the very beginning, but the one on the right hand side I must have played with forever. You'll see that later. The one with just the dots that I started with was just too open, but I wasn't sure if that stripey one was too much. So I continue to play with adding some more layers. I didn't want to add too much, but it definitely needed something else. And I didn't want them all to be the exact same shape as the photo. I wanted them to peek out here and there. See, you're seeing me struggle with that one on the right hand side. I think partially because it isn't square. Even when I add something that isn't the exact size of the photo, it's very rarely not, square or rectangular. I don't normally do things just peeking out in the corners. So I liked adding that strip on the left there of the aqua turquoise paper. It added a little bit of lightness to the wood grain paper. And now I know I want another layer under that photo. And there is green in the collection, and I thought since he came from a farm that the green might work, you know, in the story. But since there was no green in the photo, and there wasn't much green even in that striped paper on the right-hand side, just, let's see, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 strips, so it wasn't very prominent. I ended up going with another blue. I tried to go with a lighter aqua, but it just didn't tickle my fancy. So, gonna put Chase on upside down. We got to vote on his name. Since we live so close, we all help out with the pups. And our old dog before him, his name was Champ. So what we voted between Red, Chase, and there was one other choice.
Axel.
Axel, that's right. But
and my dad let me have it.
yeah, Michael wanted to name him Chase. So we
Daddy gave it to me.
Yep, we were tied. We were tied between Red and Chase, and my husband was the only Axel, so he got to break the tie.
But then he gave it to me.
He did. He gave it to Michael. And Chase, we've had Chase
3 years?
No, maybe 2 months. And he and Michael are just the best of buds. And Michael likes that his name is Chase because he will chase him all over. If Chase is not chasing Michael, Michael is chasing Chase. Julia, however, not so sure that she's a fan yet. Obviously, since Chase is a puppy, my parents are still working on teaching him not to jump. And it's a work in progress. But when he jumps, he's just as big as she is, so she's not so fond of that. So you see, I committed finally to that striped paper on the right-hand side, as well as the little cross type paper on the left. And here I finally decide what paper I'm going to add to the background of the photo. It's another blue. It is a pattern, and it is a busy pattern, but it's subtle at the same time, if that makes any sense whatsoever. I think it's that the pattern is dense, so it doesn't read as so busy. And it is the same blue as the polka dot paper. And if you'll notice in my last couple process videos, I'm getting more comfortable with using my scissors and not having to pull out my Caterpillar for the tiny little pieces. And for me, that has actually been a time saver. The last couple process videos that I have done, I've actually gotten the whole layout done in about an hour. I do obviously speed these up so you don't sit through an hour, but I used to be a scrapbooker that would take, you know, a week on one layout, and I've really tried to challenge myself to get it put down. I still want my layouts to be, you know, pretty or beautiful or whatever the case may be, but I have so many photos, especially now with 2 kiddos, that I just can't agonize about it anymore. So I'm popping those shapes out of the chipboard space, and they didn't come out very easily. It actually ripped the background or the paper off of them. Now the sketch calls for like flags coming out of the strip at the top. It also calls for flags coming out on the left-hand side. I end up not going with either of those. I do some embellishing in that area, just not what it suggested. The flags just didn't look right for me. So I decide on that chipboard piece over by Chase. It says happy, silly, playful, funny, genuine, sweet, kind. And he is. He is, even though he's playful as a puppy, he is very sweet. He'll settle right down in your lap the instant you sit down. So I started with a date sticker so that my parents could fill in what date they brought him home. And I wanted to bring in some of the yellow from the striped paper on the right-hand side as well as the left-hand side. And for whatever reason, the label sticker just was too much yellow. I don't know if it was the tone or how much it was, so I went with the aqua. Although I do end up going with that yellow ornamental sticker. Oh, I don't trust chipboard, so I put a little bit of my best glue ever on there. But yeah, I do go with the yellow sticker, so I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just the yellow in the wrong spot. But the cluster that the sketch calls for is down there in the left side. It just didn't work for me, maybe because I put that long chipboard saying on the left, but I ended up going with it up on the upper left-hand side. So you still see me trying to get those flags to work. And what I end up doing is pulling out the saying sheet, or the sticker sheet from Echo Park, and it had little word stickers on it. And they're supposed to be for boys or dads. You know, like it says Snips and Snails. They had one that says Puppy Dog Tails. But that's what I ended up going with, was the Puppy Dog Tails. It doesn't stay where it is right now. But I just trimmed it down and made it fit for where I ended up sticking it. See, this is the part that takes me the longest. I hem and haw about embellishments. I'm okay with paper, but then when it comes time to make clusters, I struggle with that, guys. Does anybody else struggle with that like I do? I mean, it could take me, you saw it took me just as long to get the embellishments down as it did to the whole layers of paper. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or so different papers on here. But I'll keep persisting. One day it will be my forte. So the ones at the top say snapshots and memories. One is in a blue that matches the paper, another in a gray. I end up sticking the puppy dog tails over there with the yellow embellishment, again in a navy type blue that matches the paper. Then I keep looking for some more. Oh, changing the channel. We had recorded a marathon of the TV series 12 Monkeys, and that's what I was watching as I scrapped this weekend. So I take an arrow to point your eye towards the photo. The red one matches really well, and the blue one really should match. I know they're not the same manufacturer, but again, just like the yellow, while it did match, it just didn't look right for me. I do end up putting something else there as we go on. So I start to place my title, just the beginnings of it, to see if I liked it there and where else I would need embellishments once I had stuck that on. Had to pause, baby got up from her nap. So here you see me using my We Are Memory Keepers laser square to stick my title down. I really should use the mat with this because the paper, you'll probably see me struggle with it sooner or later. If you don't use the mat, the paper can slide under the laser square. Yep, see? I don't know if you've watched my review video on this, guys, but I'll tell you what, I wouldn't buy this again. I use it because I have it, but my tea ruler is just as easy, if not easier, because there obviously is no shifting with a tea ruler. Your tea is right up against the page. So these are the letters that came with the Jack and Jill. I don't know why on this one. I think with the chipboard, I felt like thickers would just be too much bulk. It needed the flatness of a regular sticker. Because the chipboard itself, especially that long one, is pretty bulky since I put it on top of the photo and all those layers. So now I'm looking at it, I know it needs something else, but what? So I get out my stash of homemade enamel dots. I'm finding those have been working really well. I will move that container up so you can see all the different colors that I've made. And this is just the more brights. I do have one that is more pastel-like. So I pull out the reds and the blues. They don't really match, but they do have this set that I made does have 2 different shades of yellow. So I pull the more mustard one out and lay it on the chipboard sticker to see how well it matches, and it actually matched really well. So I end up including 3. I think I go back to the third one because I'm looking at the layout here next to me and it's definitely glued on the left-hand side. So these are some puffy stickers. I couldn't tell you where I got them, but they have some tiny gray hearts, which ended up working perfectly. There is no gray in the paper, but for whatever reason, they looked best out of all the colors that I had. So here is my enamel dot drawer from, regular manufacturers, Echo Park, Doodlebug, and I am focusing on using these up, but now that I have been making my own, it's really a relief to not have to keep buying pack after pack after pack after pack, because those suckers are expensive. So you'll see I have the heart and the little red circle down in the left. That is where my third enamel dot is going to go. So now, since I have that arrow sticker on the right hand side, I do want one on the left. I've had these arrows in my stash for years, so I keep pulling them out trying to use them. I want to say they're by Studio Calico, but don't quote me, since I have had them for so long. I really am focusing on using what I have this year, especially now that I'm home. It becomes even more important rather than just continuing to accumulate. I'm sure you guys can relate to having a craft room full of stash. And my goal is going to be using it this year. So I don't know that you'll see too many haul videos from me, except for maybe the scrapbook convention in July. But yep, I will be really trying to use what I have. I hope you've been enjoying now that I can make some more process videos, that I have some more. If there's a topic you'd like me to make a layout on, or a collection I have that you'd like to see, I'd be happy to do that. The only thing left I'm going to add here, I believe, is my journaling. I'm jotting down what I used that goes with that saying mother. I did not write any journaling on here because it is my parents' pup. and I wanted to give this to them so they could record their little memory there. But I do draw in some lines so that they have a spot to put it and it's straight for them. But I thank you so much for watching, guys, and I really hope that you've been enjoying that I have more consistent content. I'd really appreciate it if this is your first journey with me, if you would hit subscribe. I'd love to hear your messages, and I especially love your comments. I love to be able to interact with you. That's the whole reason I started this, was to be able to talk to other like-minded crafters who don't necessarily need the latest or greatest products, and we can learn from each other to use what we have. So if that's you, hit subscribe, leave a comment, and I will catch you in the next video. And upcoming is a shot of the completed layout. I'll talk to you soon, guys. Thanks so much. You have a good afternoon, or evening, or morning, wherever you are. Bye.